That is a 3-year chart of silver. It has been cracked, but it's coming back. So let's take a look. All right. Let's see, this is 2010. Silver was about 17. Then it made a huge move here. Now, if you look up here, this is what's called the relative strength index. And what that means is relative to the universe of stocks that are available, that's how well it's doing. And the thought is, once it gets up here to 90, the thought is everybody's bought it that can buy it. And it's dangerous territory. And that's where it was. That's where I told somebody very close to me to sell, and he didn't. There it was at 50. Now, if you look up here, this is an oscillator. It was just off the chart. Now, this oscillator, there was a divergence in this stock. In other words, the oscillator and the stock, in the commodity in this case, were going in different directions. But you don't see that here. The oscillator follows. In fact, all the cases, these oscillators follow. So they're really not that helpful. I just like the RSI very much. So here we went down, and we got cracked. And we went all the way down to 19 here. Then your RSI in this case was about 20, which means everybody had sold. That is definitely an oversold position. And you look at the Bollinger Bands here. Over here coming up, it rode the band. These are all weekly charts. Rode the band up. Never really just, I think down here it popped. But down here going down, you just hit the band. So yeah, here was kind of a signal that, it was going to go back up a little bit more. But in any case, this is a lot of resistance here. A lot. And we're going up against resistance, and right now we're at 48. So it's still not as good as most stocks. It's still at less than good stocks. All right? So I don't see this thing. I think it's going to go up some more. I do. I think what we're going to have is we're going to have this go down a little bit. It's not going to go anywhere near this territory, and it's going to head back up. V bottoms are kind of a rare commodity. I know we're going to see a V bottom in a minute, but let's get to it. Okay, let's look at gold. Gold behaved much differently. All right, it moved up from here just like silver, but it didn't get cracked nearly as hard. Gold got to 1900 here, and it went down to 1200, where silver was at 50 and it got down to 19. So I mean that's an enormous drop. This is like 40%, 35%. But if you look up here, here we go. This is an overbought condition. Oversold, oversold, oversold. Everything's oversold. And gold is not doing as well as silver on the relative strength index. It's only at 44. But it, once again, has a great deal of resistance. That's a top. No question about it. That's reverse head and shoulder, whatever you call it. I don't know what I'd call it, but that's certainly a top. If you break past that top, you got smooth sailing. I didn't look down here, but I don't look for this to break down any lower. You also got a cross here. I didn't see that on the silver. I'd have mentioned it. So that's a sign of a bottom. This cross, the cross between the 20-day moving average. Well, that's a 20-day moving average. That's a Bollinger Band. I don't think that's as strong as this cross, but we're going to cross here soon. The 20-day and the, what is that? Yeah, the 20 and the 200. They're about to cross. So I miscalled that. This is about to cross, which is a sign of a bottom. Could be the sign of a top. Now, let's look at just the S&P 500. That's pretty much the stock market. We don't see any real, we see a correction here. All right. We don't see the famous 666 that Mr. Mark Farber's always bringing up, because there's really no, this doesn't go back to when the stock market corrected. We're already past all that. So this in the last 3 years, you've just got a consistent uptrend here. That's consistent. This started at 1050. We ended up at 1700. The relative index of the S&P 500 is around 57. Up here we see some overbought, but rarely has this come up above this line. Down here the oscillators, I don't really think that's telling us too much. I think this is still higher than this. Yeah, I think it's going to slow down, but I don't see anything exciting there. If somebody does, let me know. Let me know. I'm not the world's greatest technicians. And last, I'm going to finish up with what I called, the reason I looked at Apple is because this thing has a large following. And it has been hot as of late. Since here, well here, because it got cracked pretty hard to get down to here. It got down to 250. If you'd have bought it at 250, you'd have been happy. It was down here. Well, I guess that's when it made its run, excuse me. Okay, then we were starting a topping process here. And then here we see, yeah, this was definitely a divergence here. Well, here's a divergence. I didn't see this before. See how this is headed down? And this is going up. That is not good. See here, this is a high and this is a low. This is lower. This is saying this thing is getting weak. You should have got out. That's a sign to get out. Right here. And you all already had a high RSI here. That would have been a good pace to sell. But in any case, you went from 700 to 450. What is that, like a 20 or 30% drop? 700 is 140. No, that's about 30%. So 210. Yeah, that's about a 35% drop. And here you have, but here again, this is kind of staying steady, and this is headed up. And we're only at 60%. So I think Apple's got some more, but that's not as strong as top as the other one. So I think you're going to be all right there. So if we look at the whole thing, I think gold and silver still have a little more room to move. They're certainly not overbought. I read some guy on Twitter that said gold and silver were overbought, or gold was overbought. He's full of crap. He gets paid to say that. I don't get paid by anybody. I just do this for fun. Bye-bye.